Welcome to another episode of Page Burners. Oh man, this feels wrong. There's been a mutiny among the ranks, and I have usurped the adjunct, and I'm officially in charge. So, listener, beware. No, I was trying to do Varsha a favor, and she showed up after all. So, unfortunately, I'm just on a power trip now. But if you are not familiar with me, what are you doing? But my name is Carl. And I am... Oh, wait. I'm totally messing up the intro. We are reading all 10 books of the Malazan Book of the Fallen by Stephen Erikson. And we're also going to read the other stuff, and the Esselmont stuff. We'll get there. We're doing about 100 pages every week. This week, we're doing chapters 9, 10, and 11. Does that sound right? Can I get some nods? That sounds right.
I'm
Okay,
so
I'm seeing
glad
some nods.
it's not just me who forgets when I'm doing the intro.
And we're going to have everyone introduce themselves and also talk about what they're most excited to discuss this week. Did I miss anything? I think I introduced myself. Damn, this is harder. Okay, respect to you, adjunct.
What do you want to talk about?
I
Yes,
want
you
to talk
forgot
about...
that.
Oh, I was getting there. I want to talk about Talk the Younger and Lady Envy and Tool and all the stuff going on there. I was a big fan of Chapter 9, and I know that there are some differing opinions about that amongst the ranks. And so, with that said, I will hand it off to Shannon.
Thank you, Carl. Shannon, I mostly hang out around, for this, as far as this is concerned, about the page-chewing forums, sharing pictures I find about Malazan. And I am most excited to talk about probably Chapter 10. Maybe specifically the whole bit with the founders of the Bargast and all of that, which also spills into Chapter 11, now that I think about it, a little bit.
Yeah.
Dan.
And I'll hand it off to Dan.
I'm Dan, and I think I'm most interested in talking also about Chapter 9, especially the descriptions of the Pannion domain. It's so gruesome, and it always stood in my mind how bleak it is. I'm not even sure if such a society could exist in reality, but I want to know what everyone's opinion is of that. Okay, Mirka.
I'm Mirka. I'm still new to the group. Today I want to talk about Bridgeburners, as I think happens a lot, and I particularly want to talk about the healing of rots by Mallet.
That was a great scene. Good choice. Varsha.
Hi, I'm Varsha. I run the YouTube channel Reading by the Rainy Mountain, where when I'm able to, not always on punctually, post these episodes and other podcasts that we record, like Speculative Speculations. The thing the Cloud Atlas episodes are going out now, by the way, to everybody who gave me grief about that, who was just like me, and that's it. But anyway.
Yeah, I think it was me. I think that was the total number of people who gave you grief. I saw it. I saw the Cloud Atlas episodes were up, and I was like, finally.
3 whole episodes, Carl. 3 whole episodes. We recorded those back in January, so I deserve no credit for finally posting them. Anyway, what I'm most excited to talk about is the finding of the boats. The scene in Capustan where they open up the tiles and then we see the founding. Lots of Bargast topics today, but that was the most fun from today's section.
Great. So I think let's start, as we often do, at the beginning. So let's jump into Chapter 9. What actually is the beginning of this? So it's Talk and Lady Envy. And they're walking and flirting, and Talk, as usual, is kind of stumbling his way through everything. And I guess as the person who this was my highlighted thing I want to talk about. I just love these characters. I love their dialogue. It's really straightforward. It's not particularly complex. Why I like it, it's just very entertaining to me. But I also enjoy the Pannion Domain, as Dan was mentioning. I'm sure we'll get there in a minute. But I am very curious because Shannon, you on the forum mentioned not being crazy about this chapter. So I'm curious what rubbed you the wrong way about chapter 9.
I mean, I don't know if anything rubbed me the wrong way. I just didn't engage with it. I don't know. It's just, I think these specific characters talk, and Lady Envy and everybody, I like them, but I kind of like them more when they're not a whole chapter themselves. When they're just kind of we go there for a couple pages, check in on them. I'm a little more interested in them like that.
Interesting. I could read a whole book just about these characters. I love them. They're probably, I think they are my favorite characters in this book.
The entire group, or specifically Doc the Younger? Or
no, I think the whole group. I just love their dynamic. They're all very colorful, and yeah, they balance each other out in interesting ways. And the Segula are a fun X factor for all their dynamics. And I just love that Tool is like an anime character now. And because the Segula are also like an anime character, and they just like want to prove who's the strongest. And it's just so like, I just love it. I don't know. It's just fun. It's just fun to read. And they're always doing cool stuff. They're in the Pannion domain. And, as Dan was saying, it's like such an absurdly cruel society that it's fun to read about. I'm curious, Dan, you were talking about, do you think this society could exist realistically?
Well,
Did you also, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers, but it reminds me, in terms of the sheer scope of the cruelty of the second apocalypse in many ways. And I actually think there are a couple different societies that I would point to as being like particularly disturbed, with certain fantastical ones really hitting those notes. And I'm curious if that like that doesn't bother me, but I'm curious if it seems like it bothered you. So was that like a similar, did you have a similar reaction to the second apocalypse, or is this a different, like, you have a different reaction?
The second apocalypse is not, I don't know, maybe the strength. They're worse. Are they worse? I don't know. Debatable, actually. Somewhat debatable. But at least they're like sort of animals. It's not a society. They're not human, I guess. I wonder if I don't know. Well, for one point, I wonder if people would actually do that. Second point, I wonder, I don't know if it would actually work from a economical / feeding these people standpoint. Yeah, I don't know. I thought about it a bit.
I think they're like the epitome of, like, in terms of the economics, I don't think it could sustain itself forever. But talking about the Pannion Domain, but I think the idea is it's like the epitome of empires in that they consume.
Yeah.
And so long as they're consuming other people, they can function. And then as soon as they run out of people to consume, they're toast.
Yeah, that seems to be the setup we're given here. As I was going to say, to clarify, so we have a culture where they're not planting any crops, there's no food, so that they're forced into the Teniscowry, and they're like these cannibals that are now going out and conquering. And is that sustainable? I mean, no. But, I mean, I guess it works if you just want cannibals that are going to go eat a city. Yes, it's pretty wild.
Mirka, Varsha, what are your thoughts?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it almost, because these people, they are fanatics, right? And we know fanatics in the real world as well. But I would say what we see here is very extreme. It almost reminds me of zombie movies when people are infected by a virus and then they start behaving a certain way, right? So I think maybe like to answer Dan's question, like would this happen to people? Like would human act this way? Maybe no. But then, the Pannion seer is a mage, and maybe his influence is changing those people's minds and behavior to behave like those animals, like, and eat human flesh and all that. So yeah, I wasn't particularly bothered, but I think it's definitely not something rooted in real world.
And Mirka, very quickly, I'm sorry if you had said this when you first joined us, but I was not there. Is this your first time reading the series?
No, it's my
Okay.
third time reading this.
Oh, wow. Okay. Damn. I think you got us all beat. I don't know that any of us. Wow.
Nope, this is two for
Hats
me.
off. All right, back to you, Varsha. What are your thoughts? Pannion Doman.
There's a few disturbing things about them, right? There's the dead seed aspect of it, which I think for me is the most I guess unpalatable aspect of what they are. And I think we were wondering a couple of weeks ago about whether that's based in reality. I think it might be, because there is an acknowledgement. I don't know what kind of reality, but in the acknowledgements, Erikson thanks someone for, I forget the name, sorry, but thanks them for the gruesome details about dead seed. So I don't know if it's a theoretical possibility that he academically explored with this other person, or if it's an actual thing, like it's a historical thing. But
It's a medical thing.
medical thing. Okay.
Thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Just that it would work
Because I
that
read
way.
this
Okay.
before somewhere.
Okay, makes sense. So there's that, which in and of itself is so disturbing, and then there's the fact that they're all cannibals, which it's like there's a lot of negative things that are dialed up to 100 with this group, right? And the discussion about how they are fanatics, but and they're described as this like seething mass of humanity, which he does again in a few books about other religious groups, like waiting to worship their god, which feels very familiar. Like I don't know how crowds get around churches in other religious places or in other parts of the world, but in India I've been to a lot of temples unwillingly sometimes with my parents, and the crowds are huge. They are huge, and like people get trampled. Sometimes there are stampedes, and this makes me think of that. So it feels like there's a lot of maybe realistic things that are blown up to 100. Maybe the idea is to make us really think about these things, or I don't know what the end goal there is with creating that group of people. But yeah, I don't know about whether they're realistic as they are, but there are parts of them that happened or do happen.
They definitely feel like what a lot of this series does, or what Erikson often does, I should say, within the book The Fallen, which is like taking some very real, sociological or like thematic concept, an idea, and then like dramatizing it as a fantasy metaphor, taking the metaphor and making it real. And I'm really with Mirka on like they feel like zombies. Like I remember the first time I read this book, I was like, oh, these are like zombies, but they're not undead, and they like rape you after you're dead. And it's I wonder if he's like Erikson is intentionally in dialogue with the metaphor of zombies, or like the idea of zombies, particularly considering like we're dealing with a lot of undeath in this book, particularly around the Talani Mass and the Talani, and the whole idea of the mindless horde, which they sort of play with and subvert. And so now we see a sort of different mindless horde in the Tiniscowry that is very, is alive, but playing on the borders of death in a really fucked up, like, horror movie way. And
it's almost like he intentionally flipped it, right? Like the undead ones are the civilized ones to an extent, and then the live people are the ones who behave like zombies.
There's more I want to say about this, but I think it's going to have to wait for the end of the book. But it does feel like it must be intentional. And, I'm not necessarily sure exactly what he's saying, but yeah, it's interesting.
Well, I think it's very interesting / evocative or whatever it is. That they basically have to continue expanding just to survive. It's like microbes, or like some sort of infection, or the other day I was thinking, it's a critique of capitalism because endless expansion. I was like, and then I remember everything is a critique of capitalism. What am I saying?
That was my original thought too. As I was like, consumer, so they're consuming, they can't stop consuming. That was the first thought I had too.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Again, like going to the zombie metaphor, right? Like was George Romero's whole, Night of the Living Dead, and then like Dawn of the Dead. Like that's what the metaphor of the zombie was like the mindless consumer. That's why like Day of the Dead took place, or Dawn of the Dead, took place in a mall.
But isn't
it's interesting?
The quote, so I don't remember who said it, but yeah, like every piece of modern art is a critique of capitalism. Basically. It's the most lukewarm take of all of them.
It does feel like one of the, there's like a bunch of different like ways of reading things. I was just like listening to some YouTubers talking about like racial reading of things, and like you have feminist reading of things, like queer reading of things. Like certainly there's like a critique of capitalism reading of things. Like there's a lot of that to go around, I think, especially when works are like ambiguous in any way or contain a level of nuance. It's easy to kind of hone in, I guess, on the symbols. And
like everyone is going to interpret it different way depending on what their fundamental understanding of reality is and what they assume is the basis of human relationships and society and stuff like that, right? So
it's so interesting. Like you're talking about I'm definitely someone who will sometimes come in with very like materialist, like sort of deconstructive readings of things, and that wasn't even on my radar here. Like I think that there are definitely storylines within this series where I'm like, oh yeah, Erikson is like taking a dump on capitalism, but like this wasn't one of them. Like for me, this is much more talking about like religious mob mentality and like what like Varsha was kind of exploring, and the way in which I almost feel like it's related to Dead House Gates, and probably intentionally that it's kind of in parallel with Dead House Gates, where in Dead House Gates it was exploring with the apocalypse and the whirlwinds and the animal inside humanity that just kills and kills and kills, and this feels like that, but it's going beyond the killing to the like consuming, life creating. I don't know, it's like taking the metaphor in some ways in a, I guess to use Erikson's own metaphor, in kind of an elliptical way, going back and looking at it from a different angle.
Because I don't think too much, even though it's like a super religiously coded everything in Domin, I don't know, in my mind I didn't really associate too much with a critique of religion just because it's so extreme that I can't imagine any religion being like that, and also because it doesn't, like, we haven't until now have much focus on the religious aspect, and they said like we don't know anything about their theology, what they believe, whatever. We're just told, oh, they got killed for some reason because to meet their I don't know if meet their creator. It's just they got thanked by being killed or something like that. That's their ascension or some vague words that don't really mean anything. Like there's not much religious things. You know what I mean? It's very mechanical, sort of. It's very more. It feels more. I don't know.
About
it's just
Pannion?
different.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mirka.
I was going to disagree actually, like because they definitely talk about the faith and like these people accepted our faith, these didn't, so we killed them. So I definitely see the religion in Pannion domain.
I think that maybe the thing that's like tripping you up, Dan, is that like it's not about worshiping gods, it's about worshiping death. Like, and not Hood in this series. Like I feel like we have to like separate the idea of like Hood is the god of death, and then like death itself. Like if you go to like Greek myth, right, you have like Hades, who's lord of the underworld, and then I think it's Thanatos. Is that right? Does that sound right? Who I think is like the god of like the actual death itself. And even then, that's not like technically the concept of death. It's like that they worship that like metaphysical transformation, you know, and they're necrophiles, literally. Unfortunately, so it's still a faith. It's just
I just don't see the depth in the religion that would justify that as being the core part of the critique. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's enough meat to make a substantial critique of religion just by doing this way because of how it's presented in a very simplistic way. So I was thinking in a different ways, like, okay, what can this be more of a critique of that makes me think more than just, religious fanaticism?
Here's a pitch. Let's combine these two. So what if it is a materialist critique of religion, where it's talking about the materialist foundations of many religions, where if you deprive people of resources, they fundamentally are going to be, desperate people require a level of like, they're more susceptible to, committing atrocities and, believing crazy things. And so it is the material conditions of these people that leads to them becoming the Tiniscauri.
Yeah.
Well, and I could add too. So like I said, originally I was thinking about this as a critique of capitalism, but in this chapter we meet the Seer Domins. We kind of find out that there's more of a structure here, and so that's what kind of made me understand it more as a religion, because we have these priests that are very blatantly like manipulating people and taking advantage of everything. So they're the quote unquote believers who are kind of like riding the wave of this religion, and they're okay, while the common people are forced into this cannibalism and awfulness.
But it's any power structure, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Or it could be. It can be.
You have to have that belief in it. That's for sure. Yeah. What? I wish we had someone here like Steve. This is where I'm missing Steve, who, doesn't remember the books well enough, and it's still like, piecing things together. And so I want to like ask him about like his reading of all this. Well, because several of us are rereaders here. All of us. Damn.
All of us.
Well,
okay, I'm going to circle back then to my favorite people.
Mm-hmm.
What's everyone else's thoughts on Talk and Lady Envy and Tool? It's a nice, like, sweet little scene where Talk talks about like Tool's his buddy, and Tool looks back and like can clearly hear him. Like, come on, you can't tell me you don't love that. I love that.
I will.
It's like in this series that's
you,
like hopelessly dark. It's just so sweet.
I will tell you that I nearly ripped out my non-existent hair when Talk decides that, oh, these people are all great and they're nearly gods, they're so amazing, and I'm just a petty human. And so then he decides to go off and join the Tenniscourie and find his way to the Malazans. I'm like, that is the worst thing you could have possibly decided to do. You were safe with these people that you were worried about being more powerful than you. So like, I
He's
was
not very
yelling
smart.
at the pages. Like I was just so angry at those pages when I got to that point. I was like, you are such an idiot, Talk. You were safe, and now you're gonna go join a bunch of cannibals? Like, that's stupid.
I agree 100%. It's almost like it's one of a few like plot holes in the series. Like, this doesn't make sense. And he also says like, oh, they are going like towards the Malazan army, and I want to join
Mhm.
Malazans, so I'm going to join Tenniscourie to go that way. But isn't like that's such a stupid reason, honestly. And it always feels to me like this is only so that the story can happen. Like, it is not a rational decision to go join these fanatics who eat people and are just like, who
Yeah.
would do
What
that?
are you gonna eat, Talk? What are you gonna eat for the next couple weeks?
Maybe he wants to eat people.
Maybe he wants
Yeah,
to
he's
eat
really
That's the real motivation.
he's really experimenting.
people.
Yeah.
Wants the taste of that lifestyle.
Uh,
A literal taste.
That's good.
I mean,
That's good.
nice one,
What if
Varsha.
people
Nice
get-
one.
So, well, my
But
question for you all
Go ahead.
is because on my first read I felt like this was like, I agree. I was like, this is ridiculously stupid of him. What if there's a little divine influence going on here in terms of pushing him in a particular direction?
Yeah.
We know Cruel intends something cruel for him. So, maybe there's a little behind the scenes nudging, you
So-
might say.
If that's true, then I just wish we had some hints at that.
Sure. That's fair.
I wonder if the bigger motivation for him isn't, and I don't know that this makes any more sense than the other reason, but the fact that he feels useless when all of these big powerful people are protecting him. Lady Envy's off giving directions to everyone, and he's just standing there feeling useless, and he wants to not feel like that, and that in and of itself is not sufficient. But I think he's got a lot of inklings that he's somebody's spawn, and maybe all of this being protected in this way is adding to that feeling, and so he's trying to take control of the situation by just running off and doing what he thinks nobody wants him to. I almost feel like this is him trying to take control as opposed to him being nudged in that direction. It could be, I think the nudged in that direction makes more sense, but the it I kind of got the sense, and I wouldn't be able to explain why, that the Malazan thing was just an excuse he gave Lady Envy. He wants to just be out of the control of all these powerful people who seem to need him, but aren't using him for anything yet.
That's a good one. Yeah, he just wants to be in control a little bit more. I think he also says like something like, I'm going to get killed if I stay with this group, which I think
Yeah.
like
He did. Yeah.
Quite
He's
the
wrong,
opposite, right?
but
Like,
he did think that.
everyone would be protecting him. Like, he had Tool as a friend. Segula respected him, or started to respect him. Lady Envy talked to Crowl, and he told her to protect Dog the Younger. So, like, he was really safe in that group. It's very interesting that he felt the opposite.
It is like the saddest. Yeah, it's like, I also do feel like psychologically that's kind of where I land with his decision making. But what you all were saying, like, it is like the saddest and darkly like funniest part of his decision making is that he like he's surrounded by people who adore him. It's crazy. Like even the fucking dog loves him and would like go to the ends of the earth for him. And he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna join this horde of living zombies." Like that's the good call. It certainly speaks to not only poor decision making, but just like insecurity on his part.
Yeah.
Which you see, right? Like he constantly is like undercutting himself.
Yeah, I really like what Mirka just said. I think maybe that's the core of it, is that he didn't feel safe. He was safe, but he didn't feel safe.
He's got to grow up.
Why I was angry about it is because I get less interaction between Talk and Lady Envy.
I agree.
Yeah.
They were fun.
I love their dynamic. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Partially because you don't know if you can trust her. Like I feel like you reasonably understand Talk's point of view. Not only is he insecure, he's like, this beautiful, incredibly powerful, immortal woman is into me. What the hell is going on? Like there has to be a game here. But also, like, she is sketchy. Like, she enslaved the Segula. Like, what's going on with her, right? Her name is Envy. You don't want to trust someone whose name is Envy, you know? And so it's just, I love it. It's just fun.
And it makes her more hot, right? So, makes sense.
Absolutely.
I love that he's still not trusting her to the end. He's seen her pull off some crazy shit, but to the end, he's like, nope, we're going to get killed. Nope, we're going to get killed. But he still doesn't trust that she's got this under control. She's walking right into the middle of danger. He keeps thinking that they won't come out alive, but they do. Maybe that's why he's not happy with them, because he doesn't know everything about them. He feels safer with the cannibals than he does with them.
That whole section when they're at the temple and Lady Envy is just chatting with the Domain.
Yes.
He's basically saying like, "Oh, we're just gonna kill all of you," and she's like, "Oh yeah, sure, let's drink some wine." That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know about this
it's so
vintage.
Talk is like pissing his breeches, and she's like, "Oh, that's so cute. Okay, all right, yeah, they're gonna try to kill us tonight." It's great.
And Gareth, is that the name of the dog? Turned out to be a Hound of Shadow.
Great reveal. Yes.
Yes.
And no one is what they seem. I swear, except like every other bridge burner. Which I guess we could. I don't know. Anyone have other thoughts, or we can move on to the bridge burners?
Just one
maybe that's
quick
a little further
question:
ahead,
was this one of the Hounds of Shadow we met already, or is this an 8th hound?
I don't think we have met him before.
No. So there were 7, and then this is an 8th hound, right?
Maybe.
That sounds right.
Oh, sure.
Maybe he's the one that went into the sword.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember. What's the name of
Yeah,
the
is
one
he one
that
of
got
those who
into the-
escaped? Was one of them Gear, or was that just the one who attacked Paran the first time?
It's one of the Shadowhounds, yeah. Gear.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
What is he
remember.
doing here?
Yeah, what is he doing? Are she and Shadow thrown in on something together?
That does
That's
sound like
all.
a Shadow Throne move.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you were going to. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I was just going to Malazan media because I wanted to confirm, but I thought they were saying he could be a Hound of Shadow, and then does that mean that he is not?
That's true. Things are not always what they seem.
That's what.
Oh.
Yeah, I just looked that up. I just read the exact quote. When Talk told Lady Envy that Gareth could be a Hound of Shadow, she told him indeed Gareth could be, but that he was reluctant.
He got the job offer, but he's considering.
What I was thinking.
I don't know. That Shadow Throne guy is kind of crazy. I don't know.
Benefits
I wonder
not good
if
enough.
Hounds of Shadow are like ascendants, sort of, and like dogs can ascend and become hounds. or something like that.
Exactly. I think you're right, Dan. Now that we're talking about it, I think actually that went through my head as I was reading that. Was that it sounded like ascension for dogs. Yeah. Which makes sense, right? Like, people can do it. Why not dogs?
They don't have a soul, maybe? Who knows?
Well, if we're going to get theological.
I don't know how it works. But... I mean, can you get, like, any animal can ascend? Can they... What are they weird?
Okay, dogs definitely have souls in this universe because there's a dog god. So...
Sorry.
Yeah. What are the tiny little animals that were in the previous book? The ones that...
Bokeral?
Yeah, can those ascend?
Wasn't there a Bokeral reverse?
Yeah. Well, is that an ascendant, though?
They were trying to be, that means they could.
The one who buddies up with Gothos at the end. He's like a demon... Bokeral. I don't actually remember what his deal is. I just remember he's like special.
But I think those are like, he was first like a demon and then he shapeshifted or whatever into a Bokeral, right? Just like humans that become animals, so we're not originally.
But there was a different Bokeral.
Yeah, it's always like humans or races that become.
They definitely can ascend since they have a god, and his name is Iscaropust.
Yeah.
Drop the mic.
Okay. Sure.
So do we want to go to...
What about the gods of the beast hold? Aren't they animals?
That's what I was saying. Like, they have to have souls, because...
Yeah.
The wolves are gods.
Are we ready to move on to chapter 10 and get into Capustan?
Let's do it. Take us away, Shannon. You wanted to talk about this.
But first I have a question for Carl. Are you your own priest, Carl? Is that what that name means? Rat Carl?
Yes. So for people who can't see, my name on Riverside right now is Wrath Carl, because I am my own priest.
You're your own god and your own priest.
Can't argue with that, Dan. Can't argue with that.
If you want to, you can. Anyone can.
Listen,
I'm pretty sorry you had to be your own priest. You couldn't find any way to do it for you.
It's okay. I if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. All right. Gray swords. Yeah, go.
Well, moving into chapter 10, first I wanted to bring up the epigraph, actually. So, I thought this was interesting. It's talking about the Tist Andy, the Tist Leannes, and the Tist Edor. And it's kind of giving us some history of them. And I just, it's one of those things where it's like, how much can we trust these epigraphs? Is this accurate, or is this what just somebody thinks? I don't know. Just moving forward, because I have a trouble understanding how the Tist Leannes, that are supposed to be light, how did they get birthed out of darkness? That doesn't make sense to me, because they're supposedly the second children of the Mother of Dark.
I think you'll need to read
I don't know.
The Carcanas.
I mean, I know. I was gonna say I know a lot of this stuff is later on, but it made me think. Like, is any of this accurate, or is it all accurate, or I don't know.
It is worth saying this is from a book called Kilmanar's Fables, so I probably wouldn't read it literally.
Good point.
I feel it's correct.
You think it's true, Dan?
I think it must be correct. I don't know.
I'm skeptical.
Usually writers don't put things wrong in such a way in the epigraphs. So I'm doing some meta-analysis, but...
That's so not true. That's definitely not true, one, in this series, but two, in general. Epigraphs are used all the time to put in, like, meta-world information that's false. Like, you think of Dune. Dune is full of epigraphs that are just propaganda.
Yes. But I think usually it's presented in a different way. So I think the way it's presented makes me think that it's not... The way it's written makes me think that it's not fake. But I could be wrong.
Notorious literalist, Dan.
I don't know. Sometimes I read things and I'm like, I think this is what the author wants me to think. I don't know. And I think that's what he was thinking. Like there's a way of writing
maybe.
things that's like, it's like, you know.
Well,
So
starting with chapter 10, I did want to say the thing I think that resonated the most with me, and I mentioned this in the forum, was the feeling of kind of impending doom that's hanging over Capustan right now. Because before we even get to the council and all the stuff with the mass council and everything, is, you know, we've got Ikovian looking out over the plains or whatever, and he's thinking about how there's, you know, like 100,000 Tenniscoury and more arriving every day. There's this Septarch Kolpath who's leading 80,000 soldiers, and he's already taken out a city that was much better defended and unified than Capustan was. So it's like you're already at the beginning of this chapter just got this feeling of like, oh, things are going to go poor. Like Capustan is set up for failure. And you know, the next book in this book is called Capustan, so you know, we know that that's coming. That you know, there's something, you know, we're coming to the siege, to this battle. But I don't know. I really enjoyed that eve of the battle. That's this chapter.
Next year of sort of evil battle.
Yeah.
Okay.
My favorite part of it is actually the little, like, that you have these two serial killers operating in this city that's under siege, and that it's like creating this additional tension. Like, I just love that politically. Like, it makes perfect sense. Like, if you had like Jack the Ripper operating, you know, while London was under siege, like, people were already freaking out, you know. So imagine, like, the tension that adds is just palpable.
Well, and we're given this little bit that they're like trying to buy a house or something. So it's like, what are they up to? Like this place is getting ready to be invaded. Everything's over. It's like, what are they doing? We know they're killing people. Yeah, because Buke mentions that there's already been somebody dead, and then and like now they're settling down, and that's, I don't know. In its own way, it's kind of terrifying. Like, serial killers are settling down right before everything's about to hit the fan.
I think now's the time to buy, because prices are never going to be lower unless like it's like $1 price. It can go to zero if everything gets destroyed, but the potential for extra value is so high because if it survives, it's going to go up a lot more.
They're very practical people.
That's true.
They're not just serial killers. You know, serial killing is a hobby of theirs. You might call it a passion.
No,
but actually, they're really good
business. Yeah,
absolutely.
They're all about that real estate.
I mean, look at what they did with their carriage, right? They recycled a bunch of bones. I mean, come on, these are economical guys. There's a lot to admire here.
Yeah, makes me think of like McDonald's is not a food in like company; it's a real estate company. That's how they make their money.
There you go. Yeah.
They know their business. Did you want to talk about the mass council and the kind of unveiling of the Bargast gods, I guess?
Yes.
Before that, I did want to ask Mirka though about the necromancer. Like, what do you think of them? Do you like them? Do you not like them?
Not particularly. I mean, there are so many characters. There are better characters than these guys. I kind of always suffered through the sections about them, or even books about them.
Really?
But yeah, I think they are like a nice addition. They are not too important to the story, but you know, it's just there to make you wait for your favorite heroes to come back and find out what happened after that cliffhanger the chapter before.
I think they might be best used in this book with Buke signing up with them and knowing that they're serial killings, and so there's that tension of with you know, we love Buke, we like Buke, and so, you know, oh no, what's going to happen to him? We're worried about him. But yeah, I agree with Mirka. I tolerate them at best.
There will be a really cool scene, but then that scene will be cool because of the other character. We'll get to
it. I love these guys. I love them. I mean, I do think they're best used in probably small doses, but they're just so, I don't know. I love gothic fiction, gothic horror, and they just feel like that. but
Have
like
you
kind of
read
comedic.
the Bachland and Coverboach stories yet, or is this going to be the first time through when we read it?
Who are you asking?
You.
No, this is my first time reading them, so
Okay,
I'm very
am
curious to see how I
very
react.
interested when we go into those short stories, what you think.
I'm looking forward to them. Hope they're gonna be fun.
Yeah, I
Some
am
of them I love,
nervous that
some
if
of them
they
I
become
less than love.
yeah, I'm nervous if they're the focal point that I may be less interested, but we'll see.
I will say the I can't blank it on his name. Their servant. He is very much kind of the center of a lot of the stories, so you'll have him to
Mancy
grasp
Makes
onto.
sense.
Emanciporis. What a name.
Yeah.
What
I'll
a
name my
name.
first one.
Tories.
Is the cat there too?
I think
In the
so. I don't
stories?
remember. It's been a while. It's been last year or 2 years ago when I read most of them.
Asking the real questions.
I'm sure there's
That's
something
important.
going on with the cat. I'm sure they made the cat, or I'm sure there's some weird necromantic
What do you
thing going
mean?
on
The
with
man
the
just
cat.
wants to get away from his wife. How innocent, how much more innocent and sweet than that, not sweet than that can you get? Oh,
All
Who
right,
knows?
back to you, Varsha, I think, with yeah, go for it.
yes. So it didn't hit quite as well this time around, but I remember feeling like, this background music playing when they open up the floor and there were all these boats under the ground. It felt like this big reveal, which I thought was brilliant. Like, and I think it's there. Maybe because I knew it was coming, I didn't feel it quite as much. But this sense of, well, deep history that we don't even know, right? Which we got quite a lot of in Dead House Gates, but it was history revealing itself and sort of taking center stage. And now it's still trying to do that, but in a different way, in a much more subtle way. It could be center stage, and this will be the reason why 100,000 Bargast will come to defend Capustan, maybe. And the yeah, just the whole thing with the boat and the origin story. I did not care at all about the Bargast, and after this scene, I still don't very much as a people. Like, but just that scene in and of itself was so interesting, and I haven't been able to put my finger on why that is. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say about it. Just felt like that scene should come with some intense background music. That's my point.
Well,
It
wasn't
is very
Kapal
cinematic.
singing?
Was that
That's right.
someone was singing? Yeah, maybe that's what. Yeah.
It does feel like there should be like a choir, like a very dramatic, like operatic choir. It's cool stuff. Absolutely. So I'm gonna bring up what I wouldn't even call it a debate. We are just like giving our different reactions to it on the forum, Shannon and I. That for me, I really enjoy the tension, but I actually like clock out a little bit when I'm reading about all the different wraths, because they're all named the same thing and they're literally masked. Like, they have no face. They have opinions, but I don't know what's motivating their opinions. And so I just don't like, it feels very impersonal to me, their politics, other than just like, we want to survive. And so for me, I just don't care that much. And I'm kind of like, go back to Gruntle, being a drunk depressive. Like, I'm here for that. And I don't know.
And I was the exact opposite of you. Like, I'm looking at these guys that are masked, and it's like, oh, Wrath Queen of Dreams is clearly knows a lot more what's going on, and she's hiding something. Wrath Shadow Throne is very cynical, and he knows that we're facing the end of Capustan, and he's laughing about it, and that's his way of dealing with it, which fits Shadow Throne in a way. I don't know. Like, I thought that, like, I just kind of, yeah, they're masked and we don't know who they are, but I just kind of the little bits of the personality that we got, I did kind of grasp onto. Rathfenner, he's clearly like something's going on with him. Like he's not, which we established earlier in the book, but like he's claiming to be all pious to Fenner, but yet he's not. Like we know that like there's something, he's playing some other game. I don't know. It's weird. It's almost like a Game of Thrones kind of like, what does everybody really mean? What are they really up to? Because it's like they're all masked, and I don't know what they, I don't know. I just really liked them.
I mean, fair enough. I have more I want to say, but I think it's gonna have to wait until part 3
later. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't mind them. They're typical, stupid guys in power you love to hate. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is everyone's favorite Wrath?
Probably Wrath Shadowthrone.
Gun to your head.
I think so.
Gun to your head. Who's your favorite Wrath?
Shadowthrone, because he behaves just like his god.
Yeah. Yep.
I respect that.
I like Queen of Dreams. She seems to know a lot. I like that she added some details about like the boats and everything, and she clearly knew that for a long time. Didn't share it with anyone.
I was gonna say, I don't trust her, like, because she clearly knew all of this, like as far as who these bones belong to and everything, but was sitting on it and was hiding it. So I don't trust her at all.
That's true.
But you respect
at least
her
some
for
of the
that,
other
right?
rats are ignorant.
Shannon just doesn't like to see a girl boss winning. I don't know what to tell you.
That's it. Sorry, I apologize. Cancel me.
Theories then.
What about you, Dan?
But,
this is really important.
But we don't know that many rats, though. We've only basically met like
there are like 11.
Yeah, but we don't know much about the personality of
like
most of
5
them.
of them.
I don't care, Dan. Gun to your head.
Which rat name?
I need to see their mask. To see which one looks the coolest.
What?
Maybe I can find a picture.
I don't understand what you don't understand about this assignment. There's a gun to your head. You have to name one of them.
I don't remember their names of all of them.
They're literally any of the gods' names.
True. I don't remember the name of all the gods.
Here's
I can't name a single god.
Here's how you can win this. Rathkal. That's your answer. There.
There you go. That's right. There's one correct answer, and you all failed.
That's what he was fishing for, people.
Unbelievable.
Fair enough.
Sorry, Rathkal. But Varsha, I also want to talk about the unveiling of the Bargast, because that was I mentioned in the forum that this was one of the probably like top 5 things I really wanted to see going into this book, was revisit this moment. And did it quite live up to the hype in my mind? No, not quite. But I still really did like it, and I still, because it hit on probably the thing that resonates most with me with Malazan, which is the lore. Like the stuff they build into this world, into the past, like it just really makes it so much more alive to me than a lot of other fantasy series. And so, like when we find these canoes and all the bones, and we find out basically the Bargast are what? They're kind of Vikings who have turned into barbarians. I don't know, and they're mixed blood with Imass and giants. I don't know, like all of that just really hit me in a way that I just kept reading. Like I couldn't read it enough. I was like, this is why I'm here.
Yeah, I agree.
It's cool stuff. I agree with that.
A lot.
Go ahead, Mika. Mika, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say that there is a lot about the origins of these races in these few chapters, and I thought that was super interesting. When you don't really make the connections the first time around, but then when you kind of connect the dots, and like there's like these subtle hints and comments about like all of these are really similar to Toblakai, or I think the stick snare at some point tells Quick Ben, I think it was this chapter, that Bargast are Imass who arrived late to the ritual. So you kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, it's starting to make sense. There's a history. Like now I kind of understand that history a little bit more.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
thought that was super cool. So their eye masks that were too far away, they didn't make it back in time for the Talon ritual, and I'm not really sure how this works, like physiologically, that they hooked up with a bunch of giants. Like it sounds like there should be some issues
They
there, but
made it
whatever.
work.
They made it work, and then
We've all
they
been
begin the
there.
Bargast. And then dipping a little bit into the next chapter, then when we get the whole bit about the first landing warren that Wickben ends up in, which was like somehow the warren where the dead, when they were originally back on the sea, all landed, and it's kind of like the birthplace of their gods in a way. I don't know. Again, loved it all.
I think the thing that stands out the most for me about like why. Well, there are a couple things. One, yeah, it really adds a lot of depth to the world. That it just feels endlessly big, and that there's actual like, if you turn a corner in this maze, there's actually like something on the other side. It's not just empty space. But beyond that, also, I feel so often when people are dealing with different fantasy races, they're very like segregated, and you don't see a lot of like, if you get the sort of mixed thing, it's like half orc or half elf. It's something like kind of generic, like it's half of these two things, as opposed to like, oh, there's a lot of different DNA getting mixed in, and like there's all these different combinations, and they all have their own cultures and histories, and there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. Varsha, was there something you wanted to say?
Oh yeah, I was going to say that I like. I love the scene where the boats are revealed just in and of itself. That I think added to what the bit that Mirka pointed out about the Bargas being Imas and other races who were late to the ritual. I thought just the proof of that, I think, is quite brilliant. But I also like when the spirits awaken and now have been acquired into the same warren as the new gods. It sort of gave me, and I don't know if I'm projecting for this, but the similar sense of awakening of the deep past, but minus the wrath that we got in Dead House Gates. The whirlwind comes to mind, with like layers and layers of history just being part of that, like being spun in that whirlwind. But this feels like the same thing, but much less angry, if that makes sense. Just some gods wanting to come back to their people.
Yeah, it's definitely a kind of hell yeah moment in that way. It is. It's cathartic, as opposed to like scary.
Yeah.
especially after we know that they have asked for this many times before and they were always rejected, right? Like they never got to see their history before.
Absolutely.
Is it like North America and sort of like First Nation people in their secret places? That's what I thought was also the canoes, basically, that we were describing the Bargast arriving on. So I thought they had a lot of similarities.
I think there's a lot of different influences here, and it definitely feels like thematically. I mean, to go back to what Mirka was saying, that it's sort of like Erikson exploring the idea that like if you don't learn from your past, you just keep repeating it, doing the same things over and over again, never really grow or change, and suffer or just don't thrive, because of it. Certainly they seem to have stagnated in many ways. It's interesting.
And do you think there's the sense of stagnation that has been attributed to the Bargas in these chapters? It's due to the stagnation of the gods themselves. And I don't know if that's implied, but it seems like a reasonable thing to say. Or
Yeah, I
But
mean, this
it's
is a culture where they're like fighting each other to the death to decide who's in charge. So,
Hmm.
not doing great there culturally.
Yeah. And sorry, I'll be right back.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. Right? If you're like, we need the baddest motherfucker around, then yeah, that's fair. So I mean, I think this is a good transition to chapter 11, which is where we get, the actual Bargast society and, the Bridgeburners, as it were, and the tension there. It is unclear the Bridgeburners are going to be devoured within the Bargast encampment. So, Mirka, do you want to take it away? Talk about the Bridgeburners and whatever all you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, there are many super cool moments in chapter 11. I think this entire book is very focused on Bridgeburners, and I think maybe that's partially the reason why this book is probably everyone's favorite, or at least among the favorite books in the series, because you just have to love Bridgeburners, and we get their origin story in this book, and then I think Erikson is intentionally kind of giving us these little scenes where he shows us how extraordinary they are in their camaraderie and loyalty and discipline and all that. And I think we could find at least, I don't know, half a dozen of little scenes in this chapter alone where this is hinted. Like, these are really cool people, amazing soldiers, but also, like, they have each other's back. And definitely, when Mallet is going to heal Trot, that's one of the main ones for me. And I remember it really hit me the first time I was reading this, and then it hits me every time. When Mallet is just like, okay, fair exchange, just FYI, I'm going to die, but Trot will live. And it doesn't even, he's not complaining, he's not, surprised by that. He's just, okay, of course, I'll just give my life for Trot, right? So that's so cool. I just love them. Anyone else
That's
was
an
really
amazing scene.
affected by that scene?
Yeah.
I really
Yes.
loved Mulch. Like, Mulch is what, right before that scene, Mulch, that nobody has any faith in. He goes through and he does this, like, emergent tracheotomy to save Trots before Mallet gets there. And, like, that was what floored me. I was like, that's awesome. Like, this guy who, everybody's like, oh, he can't do anything. He's not a good mage. He's just, a cutter with a couple cantrips. And he's the one that actually first saved Trot so that Mallet could later heal him all the way. So I really loved Mulch in that scene.
It was definitely a collective effort, because it was also Paran who thought of bringing Mallet to the scene,
and Twist
right?
brought him.
Yeah.
And Quick Ben going in, making the deal that ultimately led to them all
100%.
surviving.
Yeah.
It is. It is a communal thing. That's really interesting. That's a great point. That it's not like one person being the hero. It's them all working together. I don't know that I'd ever fully appreciated that, but they make it work together. And it's really satisfying.
Now I wanted to ask: does anybody have any thoughts about Trot's winning by fighting like a Malazan? Like, they made a big deal out of that, which I had a little bit of a hard time with that, because I'm like, because it describes him as if he's fighting in a shield wall, but there's no shield wall, and I'm like, well, doesn't that defeat the purpose of fighting like in your shield wall if you don't have the rest of the shield wall? So I don't know. Anybody have any thoughts on that? I mean, I like the point. The point was that he was making was that I'm a Malazan, but I don't know. The actual fighting, I'd like to hear some thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know if it would work. Because technically, fighting a shield wall means half of your shield is covering the person to your left, so you're free to, and then the person on your right is shielding half of you. I appreciate the message more than the fight choreography, I guess. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Fight choreography doesn't matter. It's the subtext
Maybe
and
that's
what
it,
the message, right?
I need to just put that aside, but just put the choreography aside for a minute and enjoy the message that it was making.
Yeah. Just like watching, I don't know, a samurai movie and they're like, oh, he's moving like a crane because of some, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's not realistic. It does not for work. It's just a way of, more character development, I guess, through a fight.
Okay.
So
It is interesting that it's a draw, like that no one wins. I mean, ultimately Trotz wins because he gets saved, but like they essentially kill each other, which one isn't something you see a lot in stories, just like a legitimate draw like that. But two, in the way that it is kind of the Malazan style competing against the Bargast style, it's interesting that way. And doesn't the Bargast, like nameless Bargast son, doesn't he even like bite Trotz? Like he does some like metal shit.
I don't think he bite him. He stabbed him in the arm when Trotz cut his hand off, and then his left hand came up and he crushed his throat.
Crushed his throat. You're right.
He crushed his throat, and then Trotz disembowels him.
Yes.
That's kind of the end game of the whole thing. So
it's like martial arts,
his throat, which I was impressed at, because he's described as this very little skinny guy, and he's fighting kind of rough and tumble, and I was amazed he had the strength to just crush somebody's throat like that. But good on him.
You don't have any muscles here. As long as if you hit it hard enough, it doesn't matter how strong you are. It's gonna.
Right? If you really want to.
Good point.
Yeah, but the problem that. It's not a problem, but it's just something that is like, okay, when I read it, I'm like, okay, I understand why, but it lowers the stakes. It's just that when, like, who is it? Mallet says what Shannon was saying before. It's like, oh, I'm going to sacrifice myself, or Mirka was saying. It just, I know by the way it's written, I know he's not going to die. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, he's not going to die. And it just, I don't think Erikson would do it, and it's not set up in a way that it would happen, so it does sort of reduce a bit the impact of it to me, just because I'm reading more into it. If I'm not thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, it has a lot more impact to me, but the way it's written...
Interesting.
Hey, I don't know if I agree with that. Specific. I mean, this is a reread for me, but I don't think going in I would necessarily think that Erikson wouldn't kill him. Like, I don't know, both of them dying with a stalemate kind of like that makes interesting narrative sense.
By this time, we have had plenty of characters just die on us, right? So I was fully ready to believe that Mallet is going to die.
I don't think they die
think
that way. I don't know.
That, like, I mean, you're talking about the writing of it, Dan. I mean, it's very specifically that the scene before that is Quickbin making a deal with the Bargast to save Mallet.
Too. I forgot about that.
Which I think that's very specifically what could undercut it for you, right?
Oh, is that
said, I just love the character. Like, Mallet doesn't know that. And so I agree that, like, I don't know that I read it thinking he was actually going to die, but it's what it said about Mallet that I thought was really moving. That he was, like, not even going to hesitate. Like, he was just going to go. And I was like, okay, he's going to survive. But, like, the fact that he even does that, I just thought the way that scene was executed was, like, particularly compelling and emotional. And then the actual healing, the way it's written, the way it's described is so cool. All the different spirits coming into Mallet, and he has, like, no idea what's going on, and he's, like, getting possessed, and they're talking to him, and it's so cool.
Yeah. I just think if we didn't know that he was going to die, or if there was a real possibility he was going to die, then it would make it more impactful from a reader standpoint of reading the way he was sacrificing himself, I guess. But I don't know. I still don't think that Erikson would kill a person doing that in his book in such a way. In my mind.
Here's a counter argument to that, which is if you really, like, truly, like, it was set up like he was going to die, it would be like a Deus Ex Machina about how he gets saved, Like, you have to set up that possibility there. And so it's kind of like it's a tough situation for Erikson to be in. I mean, he made that situation for himself, so I'm not gonna like totally let him off the hook there. But I think it's give and take there.
Okay.
Like, do you want to understand what's happening, or feel like it's kind of an asshole, or like
I'm just saying,
do you undercut the tension a bit?
Yeah, it's somewhat predictable, some of the things, because they obviously fit in certain tropes, and again, obviously Erikson sometimes subverts them and does different things. But sometimes I'm like, he's not really gonna do it. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna be surprised in later books, because I don't know how much of this is like me having read it before and remembering vaguely. I didn't remember this, but maybe my subconscious remembered it. But maybe I'm gonna be surprised in the future. But I did. But there are some books which I just get really surprised by things. Like, I don't know. I think Varsha read the one about what's the one, the fantasy janissary?
The Manifest Delusions.
You know what I'm talking about?
The Manifest Delusions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Manifest Delusions? No, that's the one we read together, right?
Wait, say that again? Say that again?
The one about it's like a Turkish analog, but fantasy sort of thing.
Oh.
Is that the Gunmetal Gods?
Gunmetal Gods.
Oh,
I haven't read that one, to me, there's no like setup for a lot of the twists, or there's setup in a way that I don't know which way it's gonna go. Like, for me, I was like legit, the way it's written made me like surprised a lot of the time, or like anxious to like, I don't know if he's gonna do that or what's gonna happen. But here I'm like a bit less. So if that was like 90%, here I'm like at 60% or 50%, if you know what I mean. I don't know if I'm explaining it very well.
Yeah,
no, I understand what you're saying, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say, there's also this aspect of, like, we knew Quigman was bringing help, but I think even with that, it's unclear how it was going to go, right? Because what he got the spirits to agree to is that they'll channel their power through him. And it sounds like it was a big load of power that he ended up using, which I might be thinking of Wheel of Time, but it could have harmed him. And it didn't. He's feeling a little shaken up and weird because apparently all these spirits live in him right now. But I'm trying to remember whether we saw examples in this series of something much more powerful than the body that's holding it. Tatersail / Silver Fox comes to mind, like Nightchill / Silver Fox comes to mind. Yeah. So theoretically, we don't know how that could have gone. Now, like, again, I don't know what about the scene, like whether that scene that changes the stakes. I read this book before, so I knew Mallet was going to live on from here. So, but I do wonder if that would have increased the tension, like not reading the help as just, oh, help and we are done, but as something that could harm the person who uses it and the person it's used on.
I definitely get what you're saying, Dan, but I do feel like Malazan Book of the Fallen will just do things very, like, unexpectedly kill off characters. Like, Deadhouse Gates has the one scene with the when the rats eat Bowden, and then the other guy, the wizard, dies. I can't remember his name. Culp? Is it Culp?
Culp, yeah.
Culp.
Yeah, Culp dies like really unexpectedly. And so we've already seen scenarios where that can happen, you know?
Yeah.
We'll read the rest of this book. I mean, who knows what happens? As a great man once said, who knows? Yeah,
I'm looking forward to where the parts I've not read, because it's really hard to differentiate what my bias is from just reading or from remembering vaguely, right?
And while we're talking about Mallet saving Trots, I did want to point out, and this is why I'm most sad Steve's not here tonight, is because that wouldn't have happened without Telemandus, who is the best little spirit stuck in a puppet body that ever existed. He's a good boy. He's awesome. I love him.
He's too nice.
And his little acorn face.
Boo! Hairlock still is better to read about.
Hairlock's more fun, but Telemandus is just better.
Boo!
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm doing
I'm
that.
on
I don't
Marsha's
care about
side.
either one. But boo!
I'll die for hairlock.
Right. I like that
He's
you
the
called
best.
a 300,000-year-old, maybe ancient spirit, a good boy.
Sometimes
good
you just
boy.
know, you know. Sometimes they're a good boy, good girl, you know.
He is a
Like,
good
let's
boy.
be honest here. Those wolf gods,
Mhm.
good boy, good girl. You know, if I met them, they would bite my hand off, but
Yeah.
I would say good boy.
For biting your hand.
You know, it's
Maybe
just
they
how
would say goodbye to
it's
you.
how it works.
That's true. They'd say good boy to you.
I don't know. I just love Telemandus. I remember him from my first read through. I just loved him. Still do.
He is great. No, I do really like him too. Honestly, I think we've said this before, but stories need more like little acorn-headed doll people. There's just something very
They
charming
do.
about that.
Mm-hmm.
We just need a bunch of random background characters which get a little bit of attention, but not too much, so that you can choose your favorites, right?
Yes, I agree.
And then put
Well,
them
and
to fight. The
legitimately,
headlock would win.
Probably.
and I was gonna say just legitimately good people. Like Telemandus, he's done nothing to show that he's got anything other than he's just a good guy.
Fair enough. On a similar note, who's your guy's favorite bridge burner?
Ooh,
From the ones we're seeing in this book specifically, so we're leaving out Kalam and
Up
stuff.
to now, all the first 3 books.
Original Bridgeburners, right? So Callum and Quick Band, they don't count.
No,
Or
I
do
think
they?
they
Oh,
count.
interesting.
Okay.
Well, they became bridge burners together
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
end of
Yeah.
that whole sequence. Let's see. I mean, I don't think I quite
Probably
started
Fiddler?
liking Fiddler at this point. I mean, a lot. We've
Oh
hung
yeah,
out
are
most
we
with
talking
him.
by this point? Because I agree with
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who we see?
I'm going to limit myself just to the squad we're mostly following in this book.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna say probably at this point Picker. Like I like Picker. I like her sense of humor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Antsy, but I feel like I like Antsy because Picker picks on him. Yeah, I gotta say Picker.
I mean,
is that why her
as far as
nickname's
the ones
Picker?
we're really focusing on.
We hardly even know her.
Well, I think we know enough, right?
So, I think because
I'm sorry. I saw an
was bad.
opportunity. I had to take it.
That was so bad, Carl, but it was good job.
She might be my favorite as well, though. She's just so funny. Her Spindle with his weird fucking hair shirt and his mom issues, like it's so.
I'm
good.
liking Spindle a lot more this second time through. Like I am just enjoying. Like 'cause the first time I felt like I just like, oh, he's got a weird hair, or like a weird hair shirt. But like I don't know. Like I'm paying a little bit more attention to him, and I do like him a lot more this time.
Yeah, he's my favorite too, Spindle. Just love how disgusting his shirt is.
It's so gross.
And the squirrels when he uses magic. And
exactly.
Yeah.
He's
very
well
funny.
So do we know exactly what realm or like what warren he uses that's causing all these animals to go crazy?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Because that's something I've been thinking about.
It's a good question. Did we know what his warren does? Even? I can't remember.
he used it once to find his way through town in Pale, I think.
Yes?
Yeah, he used it to lead them out of somewhere. There was going to be a difficult route, and then he led them, but they also had rats to deal with. But okay, here's something I want to say. A lot of most of the Bridgeburners chapters, we've had only 2 perspectives. It's Picker and Paran. So like Picker feels like the default because we've spent the most time with her. Like she's the POV character for the Bridgeburner chapters, and it's her opinion of everybody we're getting. But yeah, I think I like.
No, I mean that's fair.
I think she's a badass. She killed her father, right? And would do it again,
Yes.
which is really.
Who were you about to say, Varsha?
Who was I about to say? Was that your question?
Yeah,
I don't.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Who's yours?
Oh, I don't know. I have a few. I like Blend, but I think it's because of what comes later. With not her, just like how she develops as a character. But maybe one of the guys that Picker likes to pick on. Maybe Antsy. Let's go with him, just for fun. I don't like Spindle. I just do not like the idea of a hair shirt. Please take that damn thing off. Please.
I like
just stop.
Spindle. I like Antsy. I like Blend. Honestly, the only one I think I don't like at this point is Deterin. Like her whole beating the crap out of Hedge until he literally has to go see a doctor because she has a crush on him. Like that was kind of like, a little too much for me.
A bull has a crush on Deterin, right? She's the one that a bull has a crush on.
I guess so. But that's not a good reason to put a guy in the hospital.
Yeah, no, I'm not defending her. I'm just saying she could be a favorite too for that reason. Sorry, what's that called?
Yeah.
I love Quickbin too. I think I'm a big Quickbin fan.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Whiskey Jack.
Kind of like the main in quotes. Whiskey Jack is great, but I don't know that he has enough going on. For me to put him up the top. Quickbin is so enigmatic that it's almost cheating because there's so much implied about him. But I don't know, it works for me. I really like Quickbin.
If we're doing overall, I'm going to say Kalam. Kalam and Quickbin kind of tied, but I think I might give the edge to Kalam. I don't know why. That's my favorite Bridgeburner overall. But he's not in this book, so I wasn't going to talk about him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think any favorite I pick.
Picker?
Sorry. Who?
Yeah, I don't know. I would agree with Shannon. That Kalam and Quickbin are, our main characters kind of in the books, and they are great. I would add Fiddler to them as well, although we haven't seen that much of him this book. And yeah, out of this current group that we are following, I think Picker is great. And I have to say, even though he's not a Bridgeburner, of course, but Paran is really handling that squad well, and he's a good match, and I think he's a great captain for Bridgeburners. We should mention him as well.
I love Ganos. I think I'm just not crazy about where he is in this book. I think I get really tired. Maybe it's because I get stomach aches, and so I don't love reading his stomach aches.
Yeah, he almost mentions it always.
Right, it's nonstop. It's like every other paragraph is
but I
how
guess
much
that's
his stomach
what you do
aches.
if you are suffering from something like that, right?
No, that's fair. I definitely think about it all the time.
He's just a bit
when I have stomach aches.
So and just maybe he needs to be a bit more funny, and then I would like him more. But,
he
that's
definitely
my
has
problem,
less of a sense of humor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I guess
starting
what
to
makes
think
him more
of...
funny when he's the straight man with the Bridgeburners, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Varsha, go ahead.
I'm starting to think of the stomach ache kind of like. Okay, I don't care about spoiling this, but the dice when they roll in Matt's head in Wheel of Time, things are gonna happen, something's going to fall, something things are in flux, and then once they've settled, he doesn't have a stomach ache anymore. It feels a bit like
you were
that.
describing things. I was just like, The way you're describing
Oh,
things,
no.
it's like, are you just describing him taking a shit or something? 'Cause that's what it
No.
sounded like.
I got that reference, Portia. I'm only on book 4, but I got that reference.
Well, I get the Matt thing. Yeah, it's just like, it's like classic anxiety. Like, I mean, that's why I get stomach aches. It's like if I get sufficiently stressed, some people get headaches, I get stomach aches. And I feel like that's what's going on with him, is he's like so stressed that I mean, it's like a metaphor because there is a magical component to it, but he's, his stomach aches get worse when he's nervous that Mallet is about to go die, and he's just constantly, I don't know. He's got main character energy, like he definitely has main character energy, and I respect that about him, especially in a series that really doesn't have a main character, that he just goes in and he's the chosen person and he hates it, and very Rand Althor of him. We're gonna make a Wheel of Time reference.
So the reason I thought of Matt is because he's the master of the deck. We know that at this point. And so it feels like when you do a deck of cards reading, anything that comes up, it's not influencing the future, it's telling you what the possibilities are for the future, right? Which feels like his stomachache feels like a physical manifestation of that, and maybe he doesn't know. It's that things that could happen, like when they settle, we have like settled on one future or another, but right now many things can happen, and that's translating into a stomachache. And the reason I think that is because in the end he waited for the stomachache, almost like it's an external force and not something that's, I don't know how to phrase this without sounding really awful, but it's it feels
It's
like
not because he's neurotic.
No. No. Yeah, I think that's it. Like I feel like it's an indicator of something magical and like possibilities of the future, kind of like a deck of dragons reading, rather than anxiety. Although it could just very well be that, and I'm reading far too much into it. But the constant.
So here's my pitch.
Mhm.
I agree with you, but I think it is just a metaphor. Like that's what anxiety is like the uncertainty of the future, and then once the future settles,
Yeah.
whoosh, it goes
Okay.
away, right? And so
Yeah.
the whole idea of like it, I think it is the like, you're right. Like I think in a literal like magical way, like that's what's happening there. I agree with you. I think that's a great reading of it. And I think in as often the best fantasy, I mean, Erikson talks about this, that like fantasy is great because you can take the metaphor and make it real. And I think that's what's happening there, is he's, deeply upset with like, not just upset, but like uncertain about where his future is going and the future of everyone around him. And he doesn't like where it seems like it's going. And he wants to go on a different path, but he can't. And so it's creating this immense neurosis inside
plus
him.
I think
That
he's
is,
worried about being manipulated, and like I guess just looking back at what happened to him in the previous books and how he got to where he is now, like he must be questioning every single decision or every single thought in his head, right? And then he's given command of this squad that is legendary and very accomplished, and he has an imposter syndrome, of course. Like I really like how like that anxiety and those feelings that maybe we all have day to day, they are there in Paran. And he obviously like he needs to deal with it because so many people rely on him, but it's really literally killing him to go through those feelings and questions every single day, right? I think it's really beautifully conveyed how that kind of eats him alive, kind of.
absolutely. I mean, yeah, he's literally and it's not just like if he fails, he's fired. Like, he's afraid the Bridgeburners are going to kill him. On top of the fact that he's afraid that he's going to get the Bridgeburners killed, you know? And so there's this constant sort of, Damocles hanging over him that he is very hyper aware of, and it informs like every second of his everyday. I mean, this guy also, we talked about like his relationship with oh my god, why is my brain just like shutting down? What's the Silver Fox, who shoot Tattersail? He has survivor's guilt, right? About his family, about Tattersail, about Talk the Younger. I think it's worth mentioning that he still thinks Talk the Younger is dead. Like, this dude is terrified that he's going to get everyone around him killed. And then if he doesn't do that, he may get himself killed because the Bridgeburners may kill him.
It's just so much happening to him. I always wonder, like, he's such an unfortunate character. Like, he's already struggling to cope with things, and then here, become the master of the deck, because that's
exactly
an easy task to do. No, it's not.
And no one has ever had the job before. Like, he's having to invent it on the fly. Everyone's just kind of like, well, yeah, this is your thing. Like, you should know what to do. Like, do the thing. And he's like, well, what is the thing? There's no rule book. This is completely new. Yeah, he's great.
I was thinking that maybe it's also like the hound blood that is in his body or something, maybe, that is not compatible and it was making him sick. But your interpretations make a lot more sense.
Well, if we're getting to metaphors, is this an AIDS metaphor?
Is it?
This is the AIDS reading of Gano's parents' character. We've gotten the anti-capitalist, and now we have the AIDS reading.
Did he have sex with the dogs? I hope not.
Listen, I didn't say it was really well thought out. I'm just saying.
It does have the blood of the hounds. That's true.
Yeah, but I think it's more like the anxiety and stuff like that. Now that you mention it, I don't remember blood of the hounds making him sick later or something. I don't know.
It's, to me, that's like kind of, I imagine, as sort of the like magical doorway to his role as the master of the deck. That it's like something like he is the because the hounds are ascendants, and so he has like the blood of an ascendant inside him, which sort of, I don't know, awakens him into becoming an ascendant, and he rejects it. He does not want it. All right. Any other thoughts? Or are we ready for quotes?
Oh, I just wanted to say, I love how the chapter begins and ends. Wait, can you hear me?
Yes.
Like chapter 11 specifically?
Yeah, because it starts with Spindle's shirt burning, and I'm just sad that it didn't burn all the way through. And then when it ends, it's Paran having a monologue about how he can't teach Trots to lead. I think Quickben tells him you have to teach him to, because he is now the leader of Bridgeburners, because Bridgeburners are his tribe and he's won the thing. So he's now the chief. And Paran says there's nothing to teach here. I can only show because there are some times that I have to be cruel. And he starts demonstrating said cruelty by waking Trots up and asking him to, just basically sending him off to lead. I really enjoyed that. Funny opening and funny close. He says, go rouse the bastard.
I also wanted to say...
But you can never burn the whole hair shirt, right? Because it grows back, doesn't it?
Does it?
I don't
know.
I thought it grows back.
Don't give it more magical powers. No.
I thought at some point they said something like, I remember the shirt being like, something like, he lost a part, and then some Bridgeburner saying, wasn't it shorter like a year ago or something? Why is it full? I thought there was something like that. Plus, isn't his
I think
doesn't he get the imprint of the knuckles of his mom or something on his head in this chapter?
They wonder if they see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
It's
I thought it was
ambiguous,
implied that it was
yeah.
somewhat magical.
I no, I think you're right. I think he's haunted by his mom's spirit.
Yeah.
100%.
But why does his mom not want him to, I don't know, have sex or literally be clean or anything? I don't know. But...
Have you watched Carrie?
No, I haven't.
Or read it?
No.
Well,
okay.
watch or read Carrie.
Okay.
You'll get your answer.
Sure.
The only thing I wanted to bring up before we finished with chapter 11 was the epigraph. It's this little bit about Malazan military tactics, and but it's quoted as being from Timul's 13-page treatise, and I thought Timul sounds like a familiar name to me, so I looked it up, and I was really happy to see it's a Wiccan from the last book.
Oh.
He's not really much in the book, but he's a Wiccan youth. He's in the Dramatis Personae. He's actually the first name listed after Culminating as a Wiccan Lancer, and we don't see him much, but he's a youth, and he ends up escorting all the refugees to Erin, and we do see him as quoted as being still alive at the end of the book. He's Duiker, I think, has some interaction with him or something in one of the final chapters. So I was super excited to see a Wiccan still alive, getting a quote here from supposedly the future. Made me happy, because I am very much a Seven Cities boy. Like, I love the Seven Cities and that whole part of the storyline.
That's cool. Yeah. I thought all the Wiccans got killed, so that's good to know.
Yeah, he's a youth. I think they specifically say he's like the oldest of the youths, so he's kind of like, I don't know, I guess in charge of them. But yeah, so we will have to keep an eye out for him in the future.
Maybe.
Absolutely.
Speaking of epigraphs, did you guys notice, and I just noticed that this time around, chapter 9, it is authored by S. Lee Monod, which must be, Esselmont variation.
Oh my god, you're right. The dubious,
No, I didn't notice that.
That's amazing. Oh,
nice.
wow. Good call.
S. Lee Monod, the dubious.
Why is he dubious?
That's good. We'll have to ask. Next time we have Steve online, we'll have to ask him why Esselmont was the dubious.
Yeah, he's just ripping them. I love it. That's great. AP Canavan, I know, is in one of the books. That's one of the Bauquelin and Corbel Roach ones, I think, right?
Which
it
one?
is, yeah.
Canavalian.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then, he loves to put people in it. I love
Crackpot Trail is which one he's in.
That's great. Esli Mana. And he's just so wrong. He's just so wrong about the Kajan Jamal. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's like, what a nonsense.
Oh, man. Thanks for that, Mirka. I didn't notice that.
I would have never noticed that, actually.
They are easy to skip these things. Like, I usually try to read them, but sometimes I'm like, just what's going to happen next? Like, I don't have time for this.
I'll be honest. Like, I like the more informational epigraphs, and as the series goes on, they'll become more poetic, and I do absolutely stop paying attention to them. So I'll need you guys to point out stuff to me.
I also had the same reaction. Although I think on a reread, I will pay more attention just because having a context, I think, will help.
I will endeavor to.
The dubious. That's so funny, actually.
That's really good. So does anybody have any good quotes?
Talks mood. They don't just hang there. Twist. No, wait. His moods don't swing. No, they just hang there, twisting in the wind.
Nice.
That was great. I remember that. Yeah, that line stood out to me too. I was reading it. Good one.
Lady Envy says that Talk's mood does. Sorry, Tools. Wait, Tool? No. Tool's mood. Sorry, why did I say Talk? Like I said, I have issues with names that start with the same letter. Because he's my friend, Lady Envy. That's not really a quotable quote, but I had to highlight that because it's so beautiful.
Oh,
And
it's so good.
yes. The jagged Pannion domain. He has the white heart. We thrust to the heart of a frozen, timeless soul. They think.
Talk about I thought until literally today it was Pannion domain because it makes sense.
Pannion domain.
Is domain something?
Yeah.
Does it mean something?
I don't know.
Just
One
a
thing
word.
I liked
It's like a kingdom.
at the end of chapter 11, when this is Perrin, when he's talking about kind of everything that's happening, he says, "No one dies. We're all getting out of here." I think it goes more, but I like that. He's like, "No one dies. We're all getting out of here," because at that point everything looks pretty bad for them. But he is adamant they're all going to make it out.
Yes.
The domain, I think, is just a reference to like it's the same. Like I think etymology is domain, domination, dominate.
Dominion.
Yeah. There you go.
I didn't pick up on that.
Pannion, I have no idea.
It's a jagged word. That we know.
Where is Steve with all our quotes? Steve. Want to blow a conch horn and have him magically appear.
How about this one? Have you ever noticed how language can be twisted to mask brutality? That's...
Yeah.
I think it was Lady Envy.
That's a great one.
And also, Talk. Nobody's interested in plumbing Lady Envy, but I'm sure they've worked something out.
I was trying to find if I meant something, but I just found a site selling a cassette of an anti-fascist dungeon synth project from France called the Pannion War. But I don't think it's related. Well, it's related to it, but I don't think it explains what the name means.
Interesting. I just think of the sandwich every time, like panini.
Yes.
Oh god.
I'm never gonna unsee that now. Thank you.
The Panini domain.
Yes.
Just
Panini
eating
domain.
sandwiches.
I am glad to have planted that in your heads.
Thank you
it's
for
horrible
ruining
and
sandwiches for me forever.
But you're all just Italian.
What? Oh, they're Italian?
The Pannion people, they're just Italian.
That's brutal. Damn, what does Erikson have against Italians?
I don't know.
Just some tennis curry
Racist or
spaghetti.
Jesus.
And now I imagine them like that from now on. Thank you.
Just a
The
giant
Pannion
sandwich.
here has like the classic Italian mustache. Just imagine everything he's saying in a thick Italian accent. We are going to eat you. You will join us or die. I give you the great release of death.
Yes. But there's how we eat the people with olive oil and garlic. Right.
We season the people before we eat them.
Yes. Oh god.
We are not savages, not like the Bargast. This is good.
One
the
thing
Panini
I liked.
domain.
Go ahead.
One thing I liked. I think this was in chapter 10, and it was Brucalian and Carnidus talking. And I liked this bit. They were talking about, and they were saying, "Our Lord of War will find themselves in a fierce midst, the boar, the tiger." an ascendant in peril, and a spirit about to awaken to true godhood. Do you not wonder, gentlemen, whose war this truly is? And then it kind of goes on. But yeah, so talking about just Fenner and Drake, one on the rise and one on the fall. I don't know.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I think some of them are like trying to make the point that there should only be one god of war,
Mhm.
and then someone else is like, no, there are always two or more. Like, it is just too vast.
Well, one thing I thought was interesting was, yeah, it talked about like two lords of summer, and then somebody says, oh, well, that's not a singular title, that's always been shared or something.
Right.
But yeah, trying to, yeah, this argument over who's the lord of war, singular.
Mhm.
I always like the name Lord of Summer for the Lord's Book.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's cool too.
Lord of Summer does sound nice.
So why do we think summer is associated with war? Or is it?
Yeah, heat,
Okay. Yeah.
the blood heat in battle, maybe.
I mean, either spring and summer. Is spring too rainy? Okay, that makes sense. Well, here where I live, we had some near floods in the last couple of days, so spring seems pretty rainy. Okay, that makes this summer would be the time of war. Huh. No, yeah, and fall and
Right.
Yeah. And the same thing with spring, because there's spring harvest too. Oh, thanks, Dan. There you go. You made sense of that for me.
What's the winter Lord of Winter? Lord, like how does that the wolves, right? Or the winter?
Yeah, I was gonna say there are other seasons like
Oh,
this,
I don't know.
but I never really caught what that meant, or because there is warm of autumn,
Right.
which
Yeah, that's right.
is just
Drek, the warm of autumn.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah, the term Malazan. Okay, so Lord of Winter.
Yes, worms eating, decaying.
Well,
that makes sense.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, maggots,
Spring,
etc.
yeah, spring is polio, the disease, lady of, or is that right or no?
Oh,
I may be making that up. Right, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
But does it actually say something of spring? Like,
I feel like there is. Maybe.
yeah. Okay. It must be.
like
If
every
there are all the
season
other
has one.
seasons, then
I mean, clearly you could just assign that to whoever you want, because apparently there are multiple Lords of Summer, so it doesn't mean anything. Sure. I mean, if they say they are, sure. Yeah. You could. Death is pretty related, like that. It's like a subcategory.
wait, is it the Lord of Summer? Because they are referenced as Boar of Summer and Tiger of Summer. So, Hood could be the hooded guy of
the Tiger of Summer in battle and the Boar of Summer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree
I
with
agree.
that. Yeah. One more quote before
Well,
we
I
wrap
don't
up.
know.
I have one.
Final quote,
Yes.
Varsha, no pressure.
Yes. It's a good one. Look at the bastard, not a falter in his step, not a blink at his fate. Who, what are these soldiers? About Mallet.
Great scene.
Oh,
Really
man.
good scene.
Oh, and I don't have it on top of my head, but the quote that Perrin thinks about Mallet kind of walking off to his death was really good too.
That's the one I
think
just read.
That's the one.
That's the quote that Marty just said.
Oh,
And with that,
Trying to steal my
with
thunder,
that,
Shannon.
I
we
did.
will reconvene next week for chapters
12, 13,
and 13. 14. There we go. Yes, adjunct.
12, 13,
And
14.
Yes.
I believe that's it. So we will see you all next time. Thanks so much for listening.